Okay, for our study in natural motion part 2, I'm going to use this video of a butterfly opening and closing its wings. This particular video is 18 seconds long, so I'm only going to use a small fraction of it. The way that I can capture it from YouTube in a couple different ways. The way that I want to show you today is by basically using QuickTime to do a screen capture. So let's see here. New screen recording. It selects the part that I want. I hit enter. It starts recording. I hit play on my YouTube video to play it. Once I've got a couple flaps going, because this needs to be a really short animation, I'm going to hit stop. And now I have a QuickTime video that just opened up over here. Of this flap in its wings. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that screen recording in After Effects. New composition, 1920 1080, 24 frames a second. Good. Okay, I'm going to import my video. Alright, so what I just did, I'm hopeful that will work, is I exported it to a different file type, and of course now it opens. Okay, great. So what I want to do now is I want to get to the part where the butterfly's wings are actually opening and closing. So I'm going to start closed and go to open and closed. So here we go, starting closed. Oh. Okay, there we go. Okay. So that's all the footage of this that I want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this timeline to being a minute and 19 frames, or pardon me, a second and 19 frames. Composition settings, 01 and 19 frames. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export that whole thing as an image sequence. So I'm going to add to render queue. Output settings, format. Ping sequence or JPEG sequence, either one is fine. I'll do JPEG sequence. And now I'm going to output it to let's see here, JPEG sequence. And whoops, where did it go? Where did my render queue go? There we go, render. Okay, so now if I go to my JPEG sequence, what I actually have are a series of JPEGs that represent each frame. I'm going through each one of these images sequentially of this 24 frames per second, 3-second video. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to recreate every other frame by studying it. So I'm going to select basically every other frame, because this right now is at 24 frames a second, but I only want it to be 12. I'm only want 12 images per second. Alright, I'm going to delete all those. So don't get confused later. Now let me see how many images I've got. Okay, good. Okay, so now I'm going to open. I'm going to open those. I'm going to open. Let's see, which one do I want to do first? I want the completely open version first. So I'm going to take that image and I'm going to recreate it in Adobe Illustrator. Okay. So here I go. I'm going to dim the image, just like anything else that we've traced. I'm going to create a new layer, and this is going to be the butterfly body. I'm just going to make that just a little bit cleaner of an image. Not because it needs to be super clean. I think I'm going to give her some antennae. All right, there we go. Now, I'm going to build the wings one at a time. So we'll call this right wing. Right wing. Doing an estimation. Alright, that matches well enough. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to shrink this a little bit so that it all fits on the picture plane. And then I'm going to output it into three components. Body, the right wing, and the left wing. So let's make a left wing layer, just for organizational sense. Okay, good. Now, here we go. Export as, let's see here, body parts. That landed in the wrong place. That is not what I meant to do. There we go. All right, back to Illustrator. Export as body parts. Butterfly body. Export as right wing. By the way, this is pretty big and it's got a transparent background. Left wing. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to my my After Effects where I was messing with this, and I'm going to import my butterfly body, which is far too large. Let's go ahead and fix that. Let's drop the opacity of this so it's easier to see what's going on. I think I'm also going to shift the anchor point. Shift the anchor point for each one of these wings to make it easier to animate. Let's see. Let me see what that other one was. I'm clicking on Y and then just basically point, click, and dragging the anchor point wherever I want. The reason I'm moving the anchor point is because I want these things to animate. I'm gonna shift their motion from a specific point. They're going like okay. Right now, if I were to change the rotation of that wing, it's going to rotate from that point as opposed to from the center. The anchor point came in by default to the center, and any motion that I created from it, I would have to account for that anchor point being, frankly, in the wrong place, because this wing is not going to animate from the center. What I want it to do is I want it to move up and down like my video shows it moving up and down. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the wings into 3D mode. And the reason I'm going to do that is so that I can very easily animate a few different things. And I'm going to show you that in just a second here. Okay, here we go. So part of the reason I wanted to do this was because I want you to see how much easier the animation can be if all you're doing is dealing with a couple simple keyframes. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move these wings into the closed position. Now, I've already done part of the motion here. One thing that I do want to do, though, is I want to create some easy ease motions in the animation, which is an After Effects thing for how fast we get into and out of keyframes. We'll talk about that more in a different class. This isn't really the class for that. I just want you to know to do it. Okay, so I'm going to close them again back here on that keyframe. So here we go, closing the wings. What was it, Y, is that right? Yeah. There we go. Okay. So not nearly as interesting as the real butterfly, but part of the reason I wanted you to see this in relationship to the other exercise we did is when we dealt with trying to animate every single frame of the motion of the bird or the horse or whichever of those photographic studies you picked. You were able to, in effect, get all these wonderful details. And in this particular scenario, what I've done is I've let the computer extrapolate all the various parts of the motion. It isn't nearly as complete of an animation. And by the way, when I get to this part right over here, I feel like I'm losing part of this wing, so I think I want to go over here and I want to shift that guy position-wise just a little bit. There we go. I need shifting position-wise a little bit over here too, don't I? Oh, wrong side. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I got the job done of animating quicker in this sense. And it could even be argued that it's even a little bit more, it's a little cleaner and a little bit more professional looking for all of those reasons. But I lost all of that wonderful like body motion and camera not quite being in the right place and all that kind of stuff that made it look more realistic, even though in the previous version all I was using were a couple simple lines. So that's kind of what I want you to do here, is experiment with how you can build an animation that uses fewer keyframes in order to pull it off. But at the same time, I want you to be thinking about how all of that affects the final output. Now, if I were being really inventive with this, I might actually go in and tweak a bunch of this animation so that it actually, in effect, did some of those things we were talking about. So the body did move a little bit, so the wings do shift side to side as the motion's happening, so on and so forth. And I actually could probably do that in a fairly short amount of time, but I'm trying to keep this demo video shorter than it really is turning out to be. So experiment. Now that you have the basics of what this can do and how it works, play around with it a little bit. See what you think. But this is all that I'm requiring for the purpose of your the animation that I need from you to give you credit. But if you want to mess with it more, because animating things in the future is going to be your thing, I definitely applaud that. All right, have fun.